What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and in this episode, we're going to be taking a look at some film on these mid-round quarterback options for the New York Giants. It's Wednesday. It's the day before the NFL draft. I am so very excited, and as we promised, there's going to be double uploads on the channel this week and today. This is an episode that a lot of you requested, so I wanted to make sure that I get it done and get it posted prior to the start of the NFL draft. Now, the rumors are swirling. The New York Giants very well could take a quarterback in the first round of Thursday night's draft. However, there is also the chance that they wait until day 2, maybe even as late as day 3, to take their quarterback, depending on how the draft board falls. And with a lot of you in the community and in the comment sections requesting, hey, can you show us some film on Will Howard, on Kyle McCord, on Tyler Shuck, some of these mid-round guys? Well, that's what I want to do in today's episode, just taking a look at these mid-round quarterback options, trying to piece together which one is the best for the New York Giants. Let's say they pass on a quarterback in round 1. They don't make a trade up for a Jackson Dart or a Jalen Milroe. They don't take Shedeur Sanders at number 3 overall. Then who could they be targeting on day 2, maybe even day 3 of the draft? Again, those 3 quarterbacks: Ohio State's Will Howard, Louisville's Tyler Shuck, and Syracuse's Kyle McCord. Those are the 3 guys that we're going to be taking a look at. I got a bunch of different clips. I went through hours of film over last night and this morning, just studying these guys and watching and trying to figure out their tendencies, their strengths, their weaknesses, pros and cons, everything in between. I combed through the All-22 and watched several of their games for each prospect, and now I'm ready to go ahead and waste no more time. Let's just go dive right in. I know this was supposed to be a double upload on Tuesday evening. I got too wrapped up in the film, guys, just to be honest with you. I was watching too much of it, and then I was like, oh man, it's already this late. Let's save this for the morning. So that's what we're doing. And guys, if you're tuned into this, make sure you tune back into the channel later on today. As you know, Wednesday before the draft every single year, it's NFL draft special time. Yes, our special episode where we do our 7-round mock draft, dueling mock drafts between Alex and myself, plus bonus content special video attached to the mock draft special this year that I think you guys are really going to enjoy. It's kind of funny, it's kind of fun and exciting and something different for the channel. But again, I don't want to waste any more time. This is going to be a long episode as it is. Let's just go ahead and dive right into the film. All right, now the first of these mid-round quarterbacks that I want to take a look at is Ohio State's Will Howard. I know there's a lot of Giants fans who've been in our comment section requesting that we do take a look at Will Howard's film. Shout out to Cam Simpson in particular, has been banging the table trying to get us to look at Will Howard and discuss him more on the channel. And we've discussed him quite a bit on the channel this week leading up to the draft. But here we are finally doing a film breakdown and taking a look at the All-22 on Will Howard. So I have about 6 plays for him. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on each individual play because we have so many to get through across 3 players, but let's go ahead, waste no more time, as I said, and just dive right in on Will Howard's film. So this is against Penn State, and this is the first play of the game, and no, it's not a pretty one. It's a pick 6 going by way of the Nittany Lions here, and essentially what you're having is Will Howard, to me on this play, just not reading the field properly, not recognizing the coverage pre-snap, predetermining his throw, and just ripping it into coverage post-snap. So once again, I'll roll it through. And of course, as you guys know, I've got my little screen brush, and we're going to go ahead and add some context to this by drawing on the screen. So what you're going to see here, obviously, it's just a hell of a play by this defensive back. I think it's a safety, just might be a linebacker, honestly. Big dude right there. Just undercutting this. I actually think it might be the nickel cornerback, but that's really neither here nor there. You're just going to have this guy undercut this route, and what you're going to see here is a cover 2 shell from the Penn State defense, and you're going to have these cloud flats here where these guys kind of just cover the sideline, cover the flat portions of the field, and you're going to have these hook zones in the middle. And I'm not entirely sure what Will Howard saw here that made him think that he should just throw it directly into this zone. But we'll try and roll it through and see. But against this cover 2, you have to be cognizant of this floating nickel cornerback, I would assume is what that is. Perhaps Will Howard thought pre-snap that it was man coverage and that this would break open because of that. But it did end up being a cover 2 zone where this middle linebacker / nickel cornerback was just sitting right in the zone. So let's go ahead and roll it through one more time, and you'll see the route combination that they're trying to put together, which I actually do like. It's really it's very easy to read just one half of the field on a play like this, where you have this slot cornerback basically just running a slot fade, and you have a slant right through the heart of the defense in the middle here. You're also going to have a slant here, and I believe this was a flat. So it's really just two-man route concepts on both sides of the ball. And that's going to lead me to one of my negatives on Will Howard. Will Howard does pretty much just read one half of the field. He wasn't asked to go through a lot of progressions, wasn't a 4-read or even a 3-read quarterback, really just a lot of two-man route concepts where he reads one. If it's not there, then he's going to the other. And if that's not there, he's probably just going to get off script and try and make something happen, or the play's essentially just going to die out on him. But like I said, you're going to see the if you're looking at it from just this perspective, and if you think this is man coverage, if you're Will Howard, there's a lot of separation here. This should be open, right? This should be, you fired in here, and this receiver runs through the middle, and hopefully you got a big gain. But if you're locked in on this receiver, which Will Howard is, and you're not looking at the entire scope of the field, you're not going to see this nickel cornerback in his zone driving down and making a play. And I'll give credit to this defensive back because this is a really great play on the ball. When you're sitting down in the zone, it's very easy to just sit there and let everything come to you. And once the ball's in front of you and there's a runner, now you break and you make a tackle. Really good recognition. Probably saw something on the film that told him he could undercut this route, and he does exactly that and takes it to the house. So takeaways from this play, just half-field reads by Will Howard, not often seeing the full scope of things, and also locking into the first read sometimes, being a little bit too comfortable and not necessarily adjusting post-snap, which he's a college quarterback. You don't expect him to read the full field and, read coverages like Tom Brady or anything, but just this is the first play. It's a pick six. Let's see how he responds. All right, now let's get to the second play here against Penn State, and this is going to be a really great bounce back throw from Will Howard. I like this play design a lot, and I really do like this pass here from Will Howard. When you're rolling left and you're throwing right, obviously you have to put a lot of arm strength into that, and this is what we call a pro throw, right? When you're going to the left hash and you're returning that ball all the way to the right sideline, you need some prerequisite arm strength that if you don't have, you're not going to succeed at the NFL level. So if you have any questions about Will Howard's arm, does he have the strength? Can he make the throws? I'm not saying that he's got an elite arm. It's definitely not the best in this class. He's not Aaron Rodgers or anything. He's not even Cam Ward. However, he does have enough arm strength, I would say, in order to make certain throws. So essentially what you're going to have on this route concept, which I do really, really like here. This is a play design that the San Francisco 49ers really like to run, and it's called leak. So you're actually going to have this speed route option here to the running back. It's a sprint into the flat. So that's going to be Will Howard's first read. If the running back is uncovered and he's got an ability to gain a whole bunch of yardage up the sideline, then you quickly just get it out to the running back and let him go. But the running back is going to be guarded here. So the actual route design that you're going to want to pay attention to, it's a little bit of a combination of a concept called Yankee, which always has a big over and an under. That's what Yankee is. But it's going to be a little bit of a different variation because this over is going to come, but the under is actually going to be the tight end who's going to leak out here. So essentially, when the tight end is leaking, what we mean is the quarterback is rolling the opposite way of the play design, and the tight end is just going to kind of sneak underneath the defenders and then run basically a big wheel up at the sideline. And that's the leak concept. What it does is it puts a lot of pressure on this center high safety. So they have the perfect look, coverage look for this play design. This center high safety against Yankee has to decide, am I going with this or am I going to take this? But because this isn't a traditional Yankee, you don't just have that big over for the safety to see. It leaks out there so he doesn't see it. It's a beautiful play design to really take attention and put pressure on this center high safety and make it so he doesn't even see that leak concept come across the field. So that's what you're going to see here. Again, that center high safety, if you're checking him out, completely out of the play. No way he's getting to this tight end coming up at the sideline here. And now it's just for Will Howard to make sure that he places this not too far inside where the safety is going to become a factor and not too far underneath where this trailing linebacker is going to become a factor. You need to lead this guy right into the end zone. And he does exactly that. There's really good touch on this ball. It's very catchable and it's very accurately well thrown. So this is a play, again, a staple in a lot of modern offenses in the NFL. You'll see the 49ers run this a lot. You'll see the Rams run this one a lot. You'll see the Dolphins run this one a lot. I actually think that if we're talking about Will Howard generally as a prospect, as a backup for any of those teams that I just mentioned, he really does fit in quite well because I think he has a good fundamental understanding of where to go with the football. And he does a really good job of reading the field off of play action and on play designs like this, where he's only asked to read one half of the field. And he has the arm strength and the accuracy to make these throws. So this is a great play design. I love this concept of leak. You've seen a lot of big plays across the NFL occur on this play design, whether you recognize it or not. But it's just a great way to sneak that tight end out of formation and get him running free upfield. And all you need is just a good, well-placed ball there, and Will Howard delivers. All right, next play here. This is going to be a new game. This one's against Northwestern. This is another negative play. I will forewarn you on that one, but let's essentially see what happens here, and then we'll walk through it. So what I see here is basically a quarterback just forcing an issue. And I think this is something that does happen with Will Howard sometimes. First and foremost, he's got pressure in his face, and we do need to acknowledge that. The center does just get bull rushed and walked back into the lap of Will Howard. I would think that I would prefer to see Howard recognize that he doesn't have any edge pressure coming here. There's nothing containing. I think that he's got space to step back and reset and make a better throw. Instead, he kind of lets the pressure get in his face and swallow him, and then tries to muster his way through it and throw it over the middle. But this is a late ball because there is a window here, right? You've got one zone defender here. You've got one zone defender here. So in theory, there is all the space to work with. And you've got a receiver breaking over the middle. So it's just all about timing. If you can get this ball out on time and just kind of beam it right at this ref's face, maybe the receiver will run right into it. But I think the pressure gets to him, and he is a little bit locked in on this read, and he sees it break open a little late. Like, if you're going to see here, so he kind of brings it back to throw it, and then he pulls it back in and then throws it, and now I think he's late. See, the ball is behind the receiver, and now it's going to become a really difficult catch, and it's going to go incomplete. Essentially, I think that had he just thrown it on this first cockback, I think this is perfect timing. Maybe it was a little bit of a jam at the top of the route, made him hesitate. Maybe it was the pressure, whatever. But the hesitancy, I think, could be a problem. And I would rather he just rip this thing down the line and let the receiver go make the play. And if the receiver doesn't make the play, I mean, I think the odds of the safety picking that off are pretty slim. Maybe you nail the ref right in the face, whatever, live to see another down. But I think that the timing on this one was a little off, creates a much more difficult catch than needed because the ball is late and ultimately falls incomplete because of that. So I think one thing that I noticed with Will Howard, first and foremost, I'll actually draw a positive from this play. I do like his footwork, and I do like the way that he gets into his drops very quickly and gets to a really strong base. Now, on this play, you can see that he's making more than one read on the field here. He's reading left to right. That left route doesn't break open. There's a bunch of jumbling there. If you're looking at number 4 on the top of the screen, they're tripping and falling all over each other. So he looks past that one. But I would like to see with Will Howard essentially go from read 1, all right, not there, read 2, just throw it. Like, if you see that it's breaking open, hit it. Don't wait for it to break open and then hit it. And that's essentially what I think happened here. He waited. This ball should be out right now, and it should be a completion. He waits, hesitates, then throws, and ultimately falls incomplete. So, again, takeaways. I really do like his footwork. I think he's got a good throwing motion, solid base of mechanics, but he is a tick late sometimes on these throws, and I think it's due to not reading the field quickly enough. Like, he reads the first read, gets to the second, hesitates because he's at that second. I don't think he goes 1, 2, boom. He goes 1, 2, boom. And that's kind of the problem here. So, ball's incomplete. I think this could have been a better play. He knew where to go with the ball, which is good. Just got to be more on time. And so, as I said, just got to be more on time. And on this play, you're going to see some really good timing from Will Howard and the throw with some pressure in his face. So I do really like this play, henceforth why I included it. But I really like Will Howard off of play action. I think that's something that I'm going to mention, which is why I also, earlier was saying these teams like the 49ers, Dolphins, Rams, these play action heavy passing attack teams that, really only require the quarterback to make a couple reads. He's a really good fit there as a backup for a few of those squads. The Giants, for what it's worth, I think would like to run more play action. They just need the better personnel. And maybe Howard could fit in that role. But what you're going to get here, this play action does suck in that linebacker and does create some space in the middle of the field. But there is middle field closed here because you've got this deep safety, so you're not going to hit this route. And once you see that deep safety, okay, we've got one-on-ones on the sidelines. This is some sort of a cover one where it's man coverage across the board with a middle safety, or when you have that single high, you know that it's probably that cover one or a cover three. In this case, it happens to be that cover one. So when it's man coverage on the outsides, you've got one-on-one and you've got the playmakers that Ohio State has. You know that they're going to break open, and you just got to get a well-timed and accurate ball. So what I'll say here, Will Howard gets the play action, but the entire time he is reading that deep safety. If you watch his eyes, he was watching that safety while doing the play action. And now he knows, okay, we've only got one safety deep. Nobody else is retreating. Let's go ahead and just hit this route. And so he gets to the top of his drop. Before the receiver is even turned around, as you'll see, the ball is starting to come out. And therefore, he gets it out on time, and he gets it out accurately for a nice gain. And so I know this isn't a flashy play. I didn't want to just put big highlights and big lowlights on the film. I want to show you a down-to-down progression here. What does he look like when he's doing the minor things, the details of the game of football, because this is where games are won and lost. And I think that he does have the moments in his film where he is on time and he does make a good throw. And these are really crucial moments, because if this is a tick late, now you're not getting yards after the catch, or you're allowing the defender to make a play on the ball. But he gets to the top of his drop and he delivers a well-placed ball with pressure in his face. I think that plays like this are important when you're evaluating quarterback film, just to show that the little things do matter, and he has the capability to do those, which, in my opinion, gives him a high enough floor to say, what's his ceiling? Can we develop him into something one day? So I do really like this play from Will Howard. Again, nothing flashy, but a necessary component of playing the quarterback position at the NFL level. Can you make quick reads, and can you get that ball out on time? All right, so this next play from Will Howard is going to be what I like to call a pro throw, because this is a really, really well-placed ball in tight coverage, and these are the kind of throws that you need to put on your film in order to be a draftable quarterback and in order to show that you have potential to be a good quarterback at the next level. So you'll see, obviously, he rips a seam ball up the middle to this tight end, and you can't place it in a better spot than that, right over the shoulder of the linebacker and directly into the hands of the tight end. It's an absolute dime, and it's the kind of throw that says, all right, this kid might have a ceiling here at the next level. So once again, coming off of that play action, which I'll keep pointing that out, I think there are certain offenses in the NFL, certain coaching staffs that are going to look at Will Howard's film and say, we love to run play action. This kid's really comfortable with that. We can make something of him. A nice clean pocket for him to throw from, but once again, a very good base here. Really good getting set up off of the play action, nice footwork and a strong base. And I like that there's really just no wasted motion in his throw on this one, right? He doesn't pat the ball. He doesn't take a long while to wind up. He sees his target and he just immediately rips it. So some really good mechanics here demonstrated by Will Howard on this throw, and just a perfectly placed ball. You've got a big opening in the middle of the field in this zone coverage. As you'll see, actually, you can see it really well from this angle. You're going to watch these two safeties. And so what he's going to have to look at post snap is one of these safeties going here, or is it going to be kind of like one maybe blitzes and then one rotates in the middle, or do they both bail? And that's what he's going to get. He's going to get both of these safeties just rushing out of the middle of the field and creating a wide open lane here. And now it's just you and the tight end just make the play. And he does make the play. So a really impressive throw up the seam here. I think this is really just a pro throw. Like the velocity on it, there's a good amount of touch to make it catchable over the shoulder of the linebacker, and a really great play by the tight end as well. But just a very solid throw and a pro throw here from Will Howard, which you need to see a certain amount of pro throws in order to feel comfortable drafting a quarterback. And I think you see a good amount of them from Howard, and I think this is one of the best examples. All right, last play here from Will Howard, another pro throw, kind of hyping him up here now with these final two clips. But I'll just say this about the Oregon game. I could have pulled a ton of clips from this game. This was a really incredible performance from Will Howard. And if you want to be sold on him, I'll just say go on YouTube and go watch his performance against Oregon in 2024. That's probably going to sell you on him. This was definitely one of his best performances of his collegiate career, particularly when he was with the Ohio State Buckeyes. He played lights out at portions of this game, had some really, really good throws, but this was one of the best of the day. And so I wanted to highlight this one in particular because he's really throwing into a tight window here with three defenders around his target, and he just layers it in there and drops this one in the bucket. we often talk about, or a lot of analysts often talk about the fact that Howard benefited from having a tremendous amount of talent around him at Ohio State. And oftentimes he would throw some contested balls that his receivers maybe bailed him out on. I don't think that's the case on a throw like this. I think this is a throw where you're reading the field well and you're layering a pass through zone coverage and throwing it with perfect velocity and accuracy. This is not any of his playmakers making a play for him. This is Will Howard throwing a guy open and making a play himself. And he does this throughout this game against Oregon, and he does this throughout his season this past year based on a lot of the film that I watched. So I watched several games of him, and I did come away impressed by his ability to throw some guys open at times. And I think that does come from experience. Obviously, Will Howard, a transfer, has a lot of starts under his belt, but on a play like this, you can walk away extremely impressed with this kind of throw. So let's go ahead and break down what we're seeing here. Once again, it's up the seam. Will Howard's really good at attacking the middle of the field, and that's where I'll give him a lot of credit. And I do think that's super important because a lot of the times what you'll see with collegiate quarterbacks, they do struggle to throw over the middle of the field. There's a lot of traffic over the middle of the field. The offensive linemen are directly in your line of sight, and there's often linebackers. You have to look over these linebackers. Throwing over the middle of the field is hard. Will Howard, to me, best throws come over the middle of the field, which I think is important and very translatable to NFL success. So let's once again roll through this play, and then we'll break it down with, of course, the screen brush that I know you guys really, really like, and so do I, for what it's worth. So I think that essentially what we're getting here, you are getting that too high safety look, of course. That's what you're going to see with these two safeties. But you are getting some sort of a man coverage here because what you're going to get, and let me roll through one more time, is this was a extended seam route from the outside, but it's kind of just like a seam route from with an inside release. And then you had a go ball here, which is this guy. He's running that go. Obviously, you've got your two-man route concept up here as well, and you've got your check down in the flat. So Howard's going to look and say, hey, is this middle of the field open? Which it indeed is, and that's why he's going to target it. If it weren't, he knows that he's got his check down over here. That's kind of going to be the field progression, though. You're going to look to these two routes and basically just going to read the middle of the field. Is it open? Is it not? Okay, let's work back here. And if that's not open, I know that I have my check down. That's essentially the progression on this play. But what you're going to see is a man coverage. This guy jumps down here. This guy jumps down here. This guy takes him. And it really is actually a single high safety look. But the safety is cheated so far to one side with this guy at man coverage that you're able to target the middle of the field. Even though typically when you've only got that one deep zone, you don't want to target the middle of the field. The route concepts on this side really pull the safety this way and do create a pocket. But it's not exactly a big pocket to throw into. This is a really tough throw. You have to get it over this this man cover corner or linebacker, whatever this is on the tight end, and you have to keep it away from the safety. And because you have this guy lurking over top too, you got to make sure that you don't overthrow it. So once again, the way that he layered that pass on the last one to get it over the shoulder of the linebacker and get it in there for the tight end, he essentially does the same thing over again. But I actually find this throw even more impressive just because it's in a bit of a tighter window than even the last one was. So no play action here, but a very clean pocket and a nice base to throw from and just a well-placed ball. This guy is not open, right? When you're looking at this tight end, does he look open to you? No, but Will Howard knows if he throws this thing down the line and he puts some good zip on it, he can allow that tight end to make a play. So throwing guys open, throwing with anticipation, that's what we're seeing on this play. And so as we really do wrap up our Will Howard portion of this film breakdown and move on to one of the next quarterbacks, my main takeaways on him are essentially these. He's got enough arm strength. He's got good touch on his deep balls, and he throws with a lot of anticipation. He does get a little bit jittery under pressure. Sometimes under pressure, he struggles to get to that second read. And oftentimes at Ohio State, he wasn't really asked to go through his progressions. So the strengths here, good enough arm strength, good anticipation when throwing downfield. The weaknesses being needs to clean up a little bit of his pocket work, needs to learn how to go through his progressions a little bit better and be a little bit quicker going through them and not be a tick late on those second or third reads sometimes. These are coachable things. And honestly, I think when you're looking at a guy who has that NFL archetype build, he's 6'4", 236 pounds. He's built like an NFL quarterback. I think at the very worst, Will Howard's going to be a really good backup for a very long time. I think he gets a chance to start somewhere, though, at some point in his career. And based on where he lands early in his career, what kind of coaching he receives, I actually absolutely see potential for Will Howard to be a starter at some point in his NFL career. He's got the size, he's got the strength, he's got a decent mobility, I think, and he does have the ability to layer throws and throw with anticipation. And throwing with anticipation is really, really hard to learn. It's kind of one of those things you have to naturally have. Yes, you can learn it, but Will Howard having the ability to throw with anticipation already does make him a very good quarterback in my mind, and a prospect that I would absolutely love to take in the middle rounds to develop stash for a year and let him grow that field progression aspect of his game, read the field a little bit better. Because everything else, I think he's already got a good floor. Now it's just about building up his ceiling. So really like Will Howard. Hope you guys did enjoy that portion of the film breakdown. Now we'll go ahead and move on to the next mid-round quarterback for the Giants. All right, next quarterback we're looking at is none other than Syracuse's Kyle McCord, the former Ohio State quarterback who did transfer. And the number one strength that I'm just immediately going to place out there that I saw on Kyle McCord's film is touch. Oftentimes we see quarterbacks throw these deep balls, and they're just absolute lasers, and they're not very catchable passes. They really just fire them in there with no mind to how easy of a ball is this to catch. Kyle McCord throws really catchable footballs because he's got so much touch on him, right? And I know that one you might say, oh, okay, maybe he underthrew that a little bit. And yeah, maybe you're right. But I think he was more focused on, let me just lay this thing out there softly and make it very easy for this wide receiver to go there and make a play. So Kyle McCord, again, to me, his biggest strength is the touch that he has on his passes. And these are two back-to-back throws that came on this All-22 film that really just impressed me. I came away super impressed with these two plays. Again, back-to-back because of the amount of touch that he had on these deep passes. So essentially what you're getting on this play is a one-on-one look on the backside, and Kyle McCord is kind of just going to fade away into this. He's kind of leaning left, and he's just going to drop it in the bucket, essentially. You could throw this one many different ways, right? You've got one-on-one here between this wide receiver and this cornerback. What if you just want to throw it back shoulder and just laser beam it in there? Well, how catchable is that? What if you want to just throw it up into the middle of the field and let that receiver try and run under it? How catchable is that? How about throwing it with some nice touch, a little bit of a moon ball, just letting it drop in there and giving him a chance to make a play? And actually, that's what we see a lot of the times from Russell Wilson. Not comparing the two talents and the accuracy, anything like that, but I'm just saying in terms of the style of throwing the ball downfield. If you guys did tune into the Russell Wilson film breakdown last week, you saw he has a lot of touch on those deep balls and he drops them in the bucket. Kyle McCord, I think, has that trait as well, where he'll just kind of layer it up there and give his receiver a chance to make a play. I know that was a gripe that a lot of fans had, and Alex in particular had with Daniel Jones, where these deep balls would not float in there properly. They would just kind of be lasered in, and it's a really tough catch. Kyle McCord has a really good ability to drop it over and have a lot of touch on these passes, which I think you see once again here on this throw. So doesn't take him a whole lot to get into this throw. Just gets into his clean base and throws it with a lot of touch, as I said. And I don't think he necessarily has the biggest, strongest arm. He's not necessarily, going to fire it in there with a bunch of velocity. And I think that might be a knock on him if you want to talk about any of his weaknesses. But again, I think his downfield accuracy is pretty solid, and it's paired with a really catchable football with a lot of touch. So I do really like these two throws from Will Howard, and this is easily his best trait. And I would actually argue he might have the best touch on his balls out of anybody in the draft class, just because he is so good at dropping them in on these layered deep balls. So really good throws here from Kyle McCord. All right, this next play is going to be a very different kind of deep ball from Kyle McCord, not one of those lofty touch passes. Instead, he is going to fire this one in there. But I do really like this play design. I'll let the play roll through, and you'll see essentially a pro throw here, a really good ball from Kyle McCord just to kind of put it right on this receiver on the outside, running up the inside of the numbers. So you're going to get this nice play action design from the Syracuse offense, which sucks in a bunch of defenders. They have a stacked box here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the box. And 3 of them are linebackers biting essentially on this play action fake. And Syracuse really just has a 2-man route concept here. It's going to be a backside dig, and it's going to be a skinny post, basically, kind of just like right up here. So what essentially happens is Syracuse opens it up so that this wide receiver pulls the safety over here because that's the way that he's cheating. And essentially you're going to get this skinny post one-on-one coverage between these two guys. And now it's just about firing it in there and making sure that you don't throw it in a way where the safety is going to have a chance to make a play on it. And Kyle McCord is going to do exactly that. So I think this is really good field vision, throwing with some pretty good anticipation. Obviously, this guy definitely is wide open and has all the space to run into. But hey, let's say that he just threw this in there with all that touch. Well, now all of a sudden, this safety has a chance to make a play on it. So does he have the arm strength to kind of fire this one in there against this man coverage? And, because that's essentially what you're getting here is a cover one blitz, a bunch of blitzing linebackers and stuff. And so that's why they max protect, keep the running back and tight end in there. But now you've got one-on-one coverages here. Just got to manipulate the safety. The receiver does exactly that. And now you just got to make sure that you fire this in there so that the cornerback can't recover on it or the safety can't cheat over top and get to it. So a really good ball here from Kyle McCord. Enough arm strength. I wouldn't say that this is an absolute laser or a dot or anything. I'm not saying that he's got an elite arm, but it's good enough. And so you need to see on these film breakdowns, is his arm good enough to make a throw like this? And indeed it is. And so I think this is just kind of good to mix in there. 2 downfield plays or 3 downfield plays on this film so far. 2 of them thrown with touch, 1 of them thrown with a little bit more velocity. And the velocity was good enough to make this play. And also just shouting out Syracuse, making things easy for him on this one. Really, really great play design here to get a big chunk gain against Miami. All right, this play is going to be a little bit more of a negative. You're going to see Kyle McCord take a sack here that I personally don't think he should have taken. Once again, we're going to have a little bit of misdirection and play action. And yes, the pressure's coming off of the edge, but I do think that a quarterback with a little bit more anticipation and a little bit better field vision would have gotten this throw off and made a play here. So what do I mean by that? Because essentially it does kind of look like a coverage sack upon first glance. Well, if you really watch this play, Kyle McCord does have an option, and he is looking in the direction of that option. You've got 11 who's clearly trailing this, I believe, running back or tight end here. This number 11 on Miami is trailing, and McCord's looking at it. At least it looks as though he is. You can't really know for sure, but it does seem like there's some space here because this receiver is going to take away this cornerback. He's holding him upfield. And so essentially you're going to get a little bit of a whole shot of pocket right here that McCord, I think, has the touch and velocity pairing to layer this ball into, but ultimately just doesn't pull the trigger, doesn't sense the left tackle was beaten, doesn't know the pressure is coming, and does wind up taking a sack here. But I do think that was the right throw. I think he looked in the direction of this throw, and I would have liked to see him pull the trigger on it and not hold on to it, because essentially that's what I think he did. If you'll see right here, kind of brings his arm back, then just pats the ball and goes on to his next read. I don't think he needed to do that. I think it was actually the slot receiver coming around. That must have been the first read on that misdirection, I would assume. And even the receiver knows. He turns around and he slows down looking for the ball, and it just never comes. Obviously, there is, his man does come along with him, or whoever this is, the linebacker here, number 1, does start to get there. But I do think if you place this thing on the sideline pretty much right at the sticks, you can pick up a first down and make a good throw. So I don't know if it was Will Howard not seeing it, bad field vision, not trusting his arm, whatever it was, but just wanted to throw this on there. There were a couple times on his film that I saw maybe pull the trigger, and he doesn't. And I think that does hold him back. So I think kind of trying to push him to be a little bit more aggressive at the next level could be a challenge for a coach, but it is something that would need to be done in order for him to be a successful quarterback. So a little conservative at times, a little too aggressive at other times. As you know, Kyle McCord does have a little bit of an interception problem. I think the biggest knock that I have on Kyle McCord, and this kind of summarizes it, he's got the aggression sometimes when throwing downfield, doesn't have the necessary arm strength to throw it into these aggressive spots that he likes to throw it sometimes. So maybe on this one, he knew, maybe I don't have the arm strength, I'm just going to eat this one, and he takes a sack. I think at other times you're going to see, thinks he's Aaron Rodgers, he's not Aaron Rodgers, and he ends up throwing a pick because of it. So I don't know, a pretty interesting play, but I kind of saw, breaking open. I think this would have been like we saw on Will Howard's film with that linebacker's back to the football, and he was layering it over, making some pro throws. This would have been one of those pro throws I think Will Howard probably hits. Kyle McCord instead eats it, takes a sack, doesn't hit it. So I just want to bring this one up as an example of that. All right, so this is going to be another play where I feel just like Kyle McCord's not seeing the field. And essentially what I'm saying is he's going to roll out here, and there's really not a lot of space. There's not a ton of people open, and he does throw the football away. However, I do think there is a man who breaks open for a touchdown. And again, with this linebacker back to the football, you can definitely layer this in here over the top. Now, I know it's a tough throw. You've got the safety over top covering it, and you've got this linebacker here, but this linebacker is behind. He's trailing, and a really well-placed throw could definitely make this a touchdown. Again, I know that he's rotating this way. He's rolling out to the right side, and this route is going left, but that's actually why it's going to break open, because you're not going to have the safety retreating and taking this guy because of the play action design and the bootleg design. So it's actually really good play design to open up this midfield strike, and I don't think Will Howard ever really sees it. Now, I don't expect him to be on the run and making this throw. I expect him to set his feet right here where he is, and right now he should be making this throw at this very moment. So I'll roll it back, and you'll hopefully see what I mean. So he's going to roll through, and boom, I think that receiver is breaking open. I would like to see him plant his feet, get set, and throw it fired across the middle with some good arm strength. Instead, he just keeps rolling, and he throws out of bounds here. But that safety doesn't even follow him because he's reading the quarterback, and the quarterback doesn't look by way of the middle of the field. But again, I do think there is an opportunity here with this tight end breaking over the middle. You can absolutely find a way to fire that one in there if you've got the arm strength. You just plant your feet right here, and this ball could just go straight down the middle of the field and give that tight end coming over a chance to make a play. Instead, he just keeps rolling. And again, I understand it's not an easy throw. You have to get it over this linebacker, but we just watched a bunch of film on Will Howard where this trailing linebacker, he layers it right over, and it's a touchdown. I know last year when I was watching J.J. McCarthy's film, one of my big takeaways is on plays like this, these were touchdowns for J.J. McCarthy, which is why I was a lot higher on him than most other probably Giants fans and NFL fans in general, maybe, because I think throws like this are crucial to being a high-level quarterback at the next level. Seeing this as an open receiver, Kyle McCord doesn't see this as an open receiver. A lot of people won't, but really good NFL quarterbacks will. They'll see this as an open receiver because they'll see back to the football. I can layer this thing over the top of this linebacker and create a touchdown here. Instead, McCord either sees it and doesn't trust it or just doesn't see it at all, rolls out and throws the ball out of bounds. Lives to see another down, which I like. He didn't force a throw here and didn't turn it over. But again, just in terms of field vision, and I think it's more so, does Kyle McCord trust his arm? Does he not? Sometimes he trusts it too much. Sometimes he either doesn't see it or he doesn't trust it enough. This is a play where a quarterback with really good arm strength, I think, can make a touchdown here, but Kyle McCord being a little bit limited in what he can do ends up being an incompletion. All right, and this next play is going to be kind of the opposite of what we just saw. So Kyle McCord being a little bit of an enigma here. He's actually going to see this play break down. Again, we're seeing, because it's college, a lot of just two-man route concepts if it's not open. Well, now McCord's going to have to get on the scramble drill. This cornerback has great leverage over top. There's no way that you're going to complete this. Cornerback is completely locked in, and this guy is all the way shut down as well. So now what does McCord have left to do with the pocket beginning to break down? Go make a play. Go get on the scramble drill and make something happen. And he actually does on this one. He escapes from the pocket, and he looks around the field, and great recognition and awareness from this slot receiver to notice that the quarterback has gone on the scramble drill. A great job by Kyle McCord to move back, reset, and create a huge pocket of protection for himself. He created that space for himself, so you have to give him props there. That's really good pocket presence. And now back to the football from this linebacker, right? This time, Kyle McCord recognizes that, sees a bunch of open space, and does indeed fire it in there for a big gain on the scramble drill. This is a really good throw. This is a pro throw. This is a pro play where, hey, the play broke down. All right, my first read, my second read, both locked down. Now what do I do? Okay, the pocket's breaking down. Let's get out of here. Let's create some space. Let's reset. Let's find who's open on the scramble drill. And again, sees back to the football, recognizes that, and throws it for a big completion. This is a really, really good play. These are the plays that we need to see more of from Kyle McCord to feel comfortable. Really good catch by the receiver as well to hang on. Gets hit as he makes the grab. But again, a very good throw in a tight window there from Kyle McCord. But it's everything before the throw that I really like. Goes through the progressions, doesn't force it. A lot of quarterbacks would force it here, just throw it up there, and it's an incompletion or an interception. Instead, McCord bails out of the pocket, creates some space for himself, throws downfield. A very good play here from Kyle McCord. This is one that really did impress me. All right, a couple more plays here from Kyle McCord before we move on to Tyler Shuck. But this is a really great throw, and I wanted to highlight this one. Once again, you're just going to have a one-on-one. This is a zero coverage. There is no safety you have to worry about. One-on-one coverage here, and you've got an absolutely loaded monster box to deal with. I would even consider that guy part of the box as well. You're lined up in the heaviest personnel package. You've even got a fullback out there. You have one receiver and one option. Throw a good go ball. This has to be a perfect throw against one-on-one coverage, and it has to be in the face of pressure. You know that you've got a lot of people coming in trying to hit you. And Kyle McCord's throw is an absolute dime on this one. So you're going to see off the play action. All right, the blitz is coming through. Now you got to fade away. You've got some pressure in your face. Can you put this thing up there and give your guy a chance to make a play? Thankfully, the receiver does have him beat. He's got a step here. It's not much of a step, but it's a step. If you can layer this thing over the top and get some good touch on this ball, you could throw a touchdown. And that's exactly what Kyle McCord does. Really good touch. It ends up being back shoulder, but it's well placed. It's not the best ball tracking skills from this cornerback. He is beat. Really good play by the receiver. But again, just a really good throw. I think McCord on these deep balls just throws such a catchable ball. It's never just rifled in there where it can't be caught. He's always got some good touch. And I think here in the face of pressure, all right, the pressure's coming. Have we not seen Giants quarterbacks take a sack in this situation? Like a meaningless sack? Why are you taking a sack? There's no safety over top. You've got one-on-one coverage. At the worst, you're throwing an incompletion or it's going out of bounds, whatever. There's no need to take a sack in a situation like this. It's a perfect opportunity for a shot play right on the fringe of the red zone. McCord recognizes that, doesn't take the sack, throws it under pressure. Really good touch, really good catchable deep ball, and therefore a touchdown. So again, favorite thing about McCord, the touch on those deep balls, very, very catchable. All right, this is the last play I want to look at for Kyle McCord. And again, this isn't really anything flashy. It's not going to be a big play, but it's actually going to be the tight angle that I think is really important to look at here. So it's just a simple completion on the outside. It's a good throw in the face of pressure. What I want to focus in on is this angle. The blitz comes in, completely fails to be picked up by Syracuse's offensive pass protection. I think the running back probably should have picked this one up. He goes over here to pick up this blitzer. Think you get in this lane and you get in front of this guy who comes in unblocked. But McCord here is in a very vulnerable position, and he makes a freaking play. That's great stuff. I mean, how many times did we complain over the last 6 years by the Giants quarterbacks not being able to make a play in the pocket like this? Reset, throw from a new base, and make an accurate throw to the sideline. This is a really good play from Kyle McCord. This is stuff that bad quarterbacks are not capable of, and Kyle McCord is not a bad quarterback. Kyle McCord is a pretty good quarterback. What's his ceiling? What's his floor? I don't know. Those are questions for somebody else, or maybe that I'll try and answer in a second here. But a play like this is really impressive to me because it shows me there is a feel for the pressure, there's good pocket presence, and there's an ability, like we saw in that scramble drill a couple plays ago, when the play breaks down and you have to move, can you reset and then make the throw? How many times have we seen quarterbacks reset here? Now they're off balance and they're throwing the ball. It's super inaccurate. McCord gets back into that base, resets, and throws with good mechanics. That's impressive stuff, and it's a good throw here for a small completion. It's not a big play, but it's a huge difference between taking a sack or gaining 8 yards. That is a game changer, and Kyle McCord has the ability with this good pocket presence to make a throw like this and change the course of a game potentially. So a really good throw. Once again, just wanted to focus in on that pocket presence. Very impressive stuff from Kyle McCord to evade that sack, reset, which was the big deal for me, and make a throw. So Kyle McCord, if you're asking me what are his strengths and his weaknesses, he's got a good, not a great arm, but he's got excellent touch on those deep passes. He needs to be a little bit more comfortable throwing in some of those tight windows, and he needs a little bit less comfortability doing it as well because he does throw quite a bit of interceptions, even though I didn't show them with these film breakdowns. But he's got good feel for the pocket. He's got a good ability to reset and get back into his mechanics. He obviously has some things to clean up in terms of his field vision and progression. I think the vision is a big one. Will he be able to overcome that? That's going to depend, I think, on good coaching. But I do think there's a really good backup quarterback here from Kyle McCord and definitely some upside to be something a little bit more. Big build. He's got a good NFL body, not the strongest arm in the world, but some really good touch and accuracy on those downfield passes, which I think the right offense could potentially maximize. So Kyle McCord, a good prospect, somebody that the Giants are picking there at 105, haven't taken a quarterback yet, and they want a good backup with some upside. I think Kyle McCord does make sense for them in that regard. And now last but not least, or least by a long shot, depending on how you look at him. It's totally subjective here. I know that Tyler Shuck has a lot of fans, and he's got a lot of guys who don't like his game. We're going to go ahead and walk through a few plays here and kind of look at some of the highs and lows of Kyle McCord. Or not Kyle McCord, Tyler Shuck, because I think it's the perfect way to describe him. Highs and freaking lows, man. So this is a play where he completes this pass. Man, this is not a good play, though. Yes, this is thrown back shoulder and accurately, and it ends up being caught. But essentially, what I see here is a quarterback feel pressure and then just throw the ball up. I don't even think he sees a guy. I think he just throws the ball. And there's evidence that he does that quite a bit. It's going to pop up a few more times on this film where Tyler Shuck is going to feel pressure and just throw the ball up there. So this is example one. Here comes example two. This is example two. Now here, just once again, under pressure, throws the ball up. Somehow it's completed by some sort of miraculous divine intervention. It gets completed, but he doesn't even look for a target. He just throws the freaking ball. He gets hit while he's throwing, and while he's being tackled, says, "Oh, I don't want to take a sack. Let me just throw this thing up there." In the NFL, you're going to have to take sacks because in the NFL, I don't think you're going to get this kind of dumb luck in completions. You're going to get picked off or you're going to fumble, whatever. And you're going to see that he does get picked off and he does fumble on plays like this later on in the film. But these are just plays where Tyler Shuck's ability to play under pressure is almost non-existent to me. And I don't know if it's really, it might be an insurmountable weakness. Like it might be an insurmountable problem. It's going to be really hard for him to overcome that without some good training, some good coaching, and some time in development. And he's 26 years old, so I don't know how much time in development you really want to give him. But essentially here, once again, it's completed. If you want to look at this from a different lens and say, oh, what a great throw under pressure, I'll commend you and I'll say that's your take on it and that's your perspective. But for me, these are two throws where he blindly threw the ball up into traffic and got lucky with a couple of completions. There are plays where that needs to happen and where that's good, but there are plays where you just cannot do that at the next level. And I think that these two plays were just very, very lucky, dumb luck, and not what I'm trying to see from a quarterback who's spent 8 years in college football, just throwing it up there blindly and hoping for a completion. Got lucky, got those completions, but these to me are negative plays on Tyler Shuck's film. And once again here, another negative play, and I don't want you guys to think that I'm just going to be ragging on Tyler Shuck in this. There's some really impressive plays, and I'm going to be the first to admit that we're going to get to in this film. But starting it off here with the third negative play, I guess, in a row. Again, also just depends how you look at those first two plays. Maybe you found them impressive. I just personally didn't. But what you're going to see here is the play breakdown. I would say that it's totally fine. He bails on this pocket. It definitely is breaking down at this point, and I really don't see anybody open. I think that we've got a deep safety over top that's protecting this route. I think this guy's blanketed. This guy's absolutely blanketed. This guy's absolutely blanketed, and some double coverage there. Nobody's open. Okay, totally fine. Tyler Shuck bail on this broken down pocket. There's a lot of space over here. Scramble into it. Reset. Let's see what he does. All right, now he scrambles. No reset. No reset. Still rolling. Still rolling. And still nobody open. Still blanketed, completely blanketed, totally blanketed, and a man here in this window. So what does Tyler Shuck do? Does he throw the ball away and live to see another play? No, he rolls to the right, throws back over the middle of the field into coverage, and nearly throws an interception. This should have been picked off. This is a terrible decision. And once again, to me, Tyler Shuck has this terrible tendency when the play breaks down and when he's facing pressure to try his hardest to make something happen and to put the ball into harm's way. And here we've got the next play, which is actually a pretty damn good ball, which I think draws a DPI, and I'll get to that in just a second. However, this is a throw reminiscent to me. If we remember against the Dallas Cowboys when Daniel Jones was rolling all the way to the right sideline, so clearly and obviously needs to throw it away, throws it inexplicably to the middle of the field, and I think it was Stephon Gilmore who picked it off for the Dallas Cowboys. A play like that. To me, Tyler Shuck has a lot of plays like that. He actually gives me really bad Daniel Jones PTSD to all my Giants fans. These are plays that just scare me because you can say, hey, he can take his time. This can be coached out of him. Sometimes it can't be. Sometimes this never gets coached out of a player. This desire to throw the ball into the middle of the field and just make a play happen when there clearly isn't a play to be made. This inability to let a play die. You have to live to see the next down. And on a play like this, he sees the next down by chance, gets really lucky because this interception is dropped. But that ball hits the defender right there in the chest. This is an ugly throw into traffic. You don't throw into the middle of the field when you're scrambling to the right side. It's just under pressure. Don't just throw it up there for grabs. It's what he does. And again, this happens a lot here for Tyler Shuck. Now, this next play, he's going to get on the move again. And this is actually a really good throw to me. I think that there's a DPI here. And I think that without the DPI, this is probably a catchable ball. But what I will highlight on this, he does have a really strong arm. It takes him just about nothing to get this ball up there for an easy 40-ish yard throw. You'll see just quick throw and boom. It's all on his arm. He's got a lot of arm strength. Honestly, debatably, him and Cam Ward have the strongest arms in this draft class. I don't think he has quite Cam Ward's arm talent, but he's got some of the best arm talent in this draft class. I will be willing to admit that about Tyler Shuck. And that's the selling point with him, right? He's 6'5". He's built like an NFL quarterback. He's got mobility, he's got size, and he's got a really good arm. Arm talent is absolutely there. To me, with Tyler Shuck, my drawbacks are the mental, throwing under pressure, throwing into traffic, just dumb plays, dumbfounding plays and boneheaded plays. Will Levis plays, and Will Levis is such a good comp for him, in my opinion, because he's got the size, he's got the arm strength, he's got the mobility, but he just doesn't have the ability to shut it down when it needs to be shut down. He continues to die by himself and just self-inflicted wounds and bad plays under pressure. But again, wanted to highlight this because I think this is a good throw. It's obviously an incompletion, a DPI, whatever. It's not really something to break down fully, but I do just like how easily that ball pops out of his hand here. So I wanted to highlight that as well. Okay, next play here. I do have a lot of Tyler Shuck film. I didn't even realize how much I have to get through, but let's try our best to get through it as quickly as we can. And this is going to be a positive. This is a really good throw here from Tyler Shuck. This is one of those pro throws that we were talking about with the likes of Will Howard, where you're going to see the defender's back to the football, and now you're going to layer it over him. It's a really good route here by number 3 from Louisville, essentially running a sluggo. He's going to run up here, he's going to fake here, and he's going to stutter, and then he's going to boom upfield. So that's slant and go. So he's going to stop. It's really more of a stop and go kind of, but he does break it over the middle. So we'll call it a sluggo in this regard. But he does get that defender to bite down on that stop, and now he's got a step on him. Back is to the football. Tyler Shuck sees that, recognizes it. It's still a tight window throw with the safety over top, so you have to layer it and drop it in a bucket between this defender and get it in there for a catchable ball. And like I said, if there's one thing Tyler Shuck does have, it's really good arm strength, and that arm strength is on display here. He doesn't have a clean base of mechanics. He fades away from it. The kid really likes to think that he's Aaron Rodgers sometimes when he throws the ball, and sometimes he makes some throws that remind you of Rodgers. This is like a really good example. Other times he makes some really boneheaded decisions. But again, if you're talking about arm strength and the ability to layer throws, Tyler Shuck definitely has that. When he's got some time in the pocket and he's got a clean base to throw from, he'll whiz it in there and he'll use that cannon effectively, and he'll make some pretty good throws like this one, which I think was really, really impressive. This clip's actually going to have 2 plays on this film, first of which being, and this is against Notre Dame, which is really important to note, really good team that, obviously made it very deep into the college football playoffs. But here you're going to get one of these kind of leak concepts once again, not necessarily the full design of leak, but you are going to get this running back leaking out of the backfield and turning it upfield and trying to get behind the defense without being noticed while having the quarterback roll a little bit to the right. So he's going to set up here, move some of these safeties this way, and this running back is going to fly into the end zone and just kind of sneak into the end zone. I wouldn't say fly, but it's going to be a really tight window throw here from Tyler Shuck, and it needs perfect placement for a touchdown. Because again, you've got this safety who you just drew over here with this rollout. Now he's got to rotate over, and he doesn't really have enough time. The running back is breaking, doesn't necessarily look open though, so this ball does need to be thrown with anticipation over this guy, and out of the way of this guy. So what you need to do, you got to put this thing near the back pylon. Tyler Shuck, really good job. I think there's good touch on this ball, and it's very, very accurate where only that running back could get it and make a play, and now you get a touchdown. So this is a throw that I really do like. He gets set up. He's got some good mechanics, and he's got some really good touch on that ball. Very tight window throw. Yes, I'll call this a pro throw, and yes, I'll say this is one of those flash plays, like I said. Highs and lows with Tyler Shuck. We've got some really low lows. This, to me, is a very high. This is a really well-placed and difficult throw. So an impressive play here from Tyler Shuck. Again, love these play designs where they roll a little bit, pull that safety away. Now do you have the arm strength to make that throw? Well, Tyler Shuck has it, and then some. And then this play I just threw on the film just to demonstrate, first of all, really good athleticism. Second of all, really poor awareness and a turnover. When I said Daniel Jones's name earlier, I wasn't trying to summon a demon, guys. I promise. I was just trying to say there are so many plays on Tyler Shuck's film that just trigger you if you're a Giants fan because you can't help but think of Daniel Jones. How do you watch this play and not think of Daniel Jones? You get all excited. Oh my God, amazing play. He just ripped a big run, 6'5", running with a full head of steam. He's very fast, getting down the sideline. Let's see this big play. Doesn't slide, doesn't protect the football, gets tackled from behind and fumbles it. Have we not seen Daniel Jones do exactly that? Have we not seen Daniel Jones run 80 yards and trip at the 5-yard line? Right? These are plays that just remind me too much of Daniel Jones. Now, again, I think that Tyler Shuck has much better arm strength than Daniel Jones had coming out, and he's Daniel Jones with a really much stronger arm, in my opinion. And hey, Daniel Jones did get coached these things out of him. He wasn't turnover prone the last couple of years, right? Brian Dable really helped him in that regard. So these are coachable things. I'm not going to discount Tyler Shuck. If he goes early in this year's draft, I'm going to say, hey, he's got tools and he's got traits, and with the right coaching, maybe he can be something special. It's totally possible. But he's just got these blow-up plays and these lapses of IQ and awareness that just kill drives and kill games for a team. And this play being one of them. This is a great run. Awesome job. But now you've got a defender running at you. Drop. Get down to the floor and live to see another down. Just slide right here. No need to try and stiff arm the safety and pick up extra yardage. No awareness that there might be a guy behind you. Ends up fumbling. So, again, highs and lows with Kyle McCord. Big gain here on the ground. Turns into a low. Should have been a high. But essentially, that's really what you see with Kyle McCord. You live and you die by him. And it's just something that you got to manage when you've got a quarterback with requisite lack of awareness. Flying through a few more Tyler Shuck plays here before this video gets way too long. And once again, this is going to be another play where he just throws it up there. Pressure comes in his face. Okay, why don't we just throw it up in the middle of the field for grabs? I mean, you just can't do this in the NFL. This is probably going to be an interception. And once again, he almost gets lucky and almost gets a completion. Somehow it hits the tight end square in the chest. I don't know how, but it does fall incomplete. He's got an unbelievable amount of luck to get these balls to hit these receivers in catchable places. But again, if you're looking at this, he's not even looking at the portion of the field that he's throwing to. His head is turned this way. His whole body is turned this way, and somehow he just throws it up into the middle of the field. What's the number one thing that you're taught as a quarterback not to do? Throw the ball blindly into the middle of the field. What is Tyler Shuck's biggest tendency? To throw the ball blindly into the middle of the field, essentially. So, again, plays like this, very concerning. He's just got some plays on your film that you're like, what are you thinking? And that just brings obvious concern for me with Tyler Shuck. But yeah, this is just another example of when the pressure comes, he absolutely does panic, and he throws some unbelievably panicky and risky throws. And now, if you want to talk about highs and lows, how about this next play being one of the best plays that I've seen on film for any quarterback in this year's draft class? It's freaking hilarious how we go from one of the worst plays to one of the best plays, but that literally is Tyler Shuck. And it also literally is Anthony Richardson and Will Levis, which is why Tyler Shuck scares me as a prospect. But let's not take away from that. Let's watch this fantastic play here from Tyler Shuck. So he's dropped back to pass, clean pocket so far, nobody's open. You've got this guy undercutting there, and you've got this guy here. So this flat route not able to be thrown to. How about this guy on the over? Well, this guy is obviously paying attention to that. Maybe you could get it up here, but that's not your first read, so you're not going to get it there now. Let's see Tyler Shuck. Okay, everything is covered, and you weren't going to get it here anyway. This cornerback was sitting on it. So now that the play is broken down, defensive lineman fell in front of you. Pressure is in your face. The play is broken down. Let's roll out and make something happen. He does exactly that. Let's wait for it, wait for it. How about just the sickest sidearm throw for a touchdown that you're going to see from any of the quarterbacks in this draft class? It's unbelievable what Tyler Shuck is able to do when he's under pressure and just make the worst play you've ever seen, and then a couple plays later make the best play you've ever seen. This arm angle is truly stupid. He almost throws this damn thing underhand. It's a complete baseball sidearm throw, and it is the tightest of windows. I don't even know how he saw this tight end across the back of the end zone, but he puts it where only this tight end could get it. The amount of velocity on this throw is unbelievable. Falling backwards for that thing to zip in there like that, and he throws a hell of a touchdown pass. So he's a really tough eval, Tyler Shuck, because he's so freaking random. He has plays like the one we just saw that should have been obvious interception, panic over the middle, and then you've got a play like this where he buys himself time under pressure, and with his super strong arm just throws an unbelievable jaw-dropping touchdown pass. So that's the nature of Tyler Shuck, but again, I told you highs and lows. I'm going to mix in both for Tyler Shuck here. And as I said, and I'm going to continue to say, this is one of the best throws that I've seen from a collegiate quarterback in this year's draft class on film, watching the All-22. This thing absolutely blew me away, and I didn't even know he had this in him. But, you know, learning new things every day with these quarterback prospects. Once again, just a hell of a play here. I'll call this a pro throw if you want me to. And I'll say, in terms of scramble drill, This is as good as it gets. Unbelievable arm angle and velocity on that throw. How consistently can he do this at the next level remains to be seen. But this is just a really good play. And this is where, when you're asking, what do NFL evaluators see in him? Why is there buzz that he could be a top 50 pick? Highs and lows, but the highs are really high, and plays like this will absolutely get a NFL evaluator to buy in on a guy like Tyler Shuck. And this here is another pro throw from Tyler Shuck. You're going to get a hole shot here against a cover 2 hole, essentially, because what you're going to have is a half safety and a cloud flat, and you have this window. Can you get this ball in there? A lot of quarterbacks, simply put, can't get that ball in there. Tyler Shuck can, and he does. A very impressive play here to get this in that hole. This is a throw that requires layering. This is a throw that requires velocity and accuracy. And so, once again, highs and lows of Tyler Shuck. Also takes an absolute beat down in the back from the blitzing defender, but stands in the face of pressure and makes a really impressive tight window pro throw here. So over the back of the corner, as we said, throwing with anticipation, throwing people open. He does that, but he recognizes the zone, knows there's a zone here, knows there's a zone here, knows that there's a pocket to throw into here. Just got to put the arm strength on it. And again, he has no shortage of arm strength. Really, really good throw here from Tyler Shuck. Highs and lows, Tyler Shuck. So next play here, once again, Daniel Jones PTSD. How about rookie year Daniel Jones, when the pressure's coming, have no idea that it's coming, and just throw it and fumble it? Essentially what we're seeing here from Tyler Shuck. This is an inexplicable play, inexcusable mistake, really. You've got the pressure. He sees it coming, and he just tries to throw it anyway. Got to live to see another down. Got to take a sack here. So once again, just another one of these moments where under pressure, Tyler Shuck just kind of panics and makes a poor decision and puts the ball in harm's way. And I do believe this turned into a touchdown, actually. I think this was a fumble 6 here for Notre Dame. So, yeah, pressure makes diamonds, or it turns your pickaxe to shit. And in this one, I'll say that the pressure totally got to Tyler Shuck once again here. So, again, just a lot of these panicky blow-up plays, and this is another example of it. All right, last play here on Tyler Shuck, and on the film breakdown in general. Why don't we end it with a bang? Highs and lows, as I said, with Tyler Shuck, and here is another high after a really bad low on the last play. How about a nice pro throw to finish this thing off and show you why some fans and some teams are really into Tyler Shuck's high-end ability? Essentially, what I'm going to say with Tyler Shuck: really high ceiling, really high floor, really wide variance on a play-to-play basis, and that's why for a lot of teams, he's going to scare them away with his variance. Other teams are going to say, hey, maybe I can rein him in and get him to play more consistently. But again, what you're going to see here, it's about a 30-yard pro throw. Actually, more about 35 because it ends up halfway into the end zone. And actually, because it's from the far hash, it's probably more like a 45-yard rope. But this is a really good throw that I think has a good combination of both velocity and touch to layer it over that cornerback and put it where only the receiver can get his hands on it. Really, really good throw on the go ball. I think that Tyler Shuck does have some pretty good deep accuracy. I think he's very inconsistent throwing deep, as he kind of is all over the place. But he has some really good accurate balls downfield, and it's oftentimes because he's got really good arm strength. That much is absolutely certain of him. If there's one thing to love about Shuck, it is his damn arm strength, because it is a really cannon of an arm. So off of the play action here, you've got single high safety. This is a cover one man look. You've got man coverage across the board with that single high safety, and you've got go routes, and you've got a post to try and pull that safety away. The safety does have to respect that, so he's stuck in the middle of the field. And with this one-on-one coverage, you see the receiver does have a little bit of an angle and a step, and he's got some leverage. So all you got to do, if you're Tyler Shuck, layer it in there, get it over the top of that cornerback, and throw a freaking touchdown, and he does exactly that. So once again, another great throw here from Tyler Shuck right here. And a really good bang to end off the episode. But yeah, now we'll move on to final takeaways for these quarterbacks. All right, finishing off here with this breakdown of these mid-round quarterbacks with final takeaways. Now, I really hope that you all did enjoy taking a look at this film with me. Again, I watched a lot of all 22 last night on these guys. I had watched some all 22 on them before and done some film research for my own respect, and just so I can talk about them better on the channel. But last night I did some real deep diving into the all 22, breaking down the plays on my own, and of course pulling some of the best clips that I found in order to do the film breakdown here on the channel for you guys. Again, this was a requested episode. I'm trying my best whenever you guys request something. I want to fulfill those requests, and I want to make the content that you guys are requesting. So keep leaving feedback in the comments, keep requesting episodes, asking me to do this, asking me to do that, saying you want to see this, want to see that. And I'm going to try my best to get it all done for you, especially as we get past this NFL draft. Things are going to slow down. There's going to be less news to talk about. So I'm going to be relying on you guys to give me feedback and tell me what you want to see. But let's go ahead and give the strengths and weaknesses, our bottom lines on each of these three quarterbacks. I'm actually just going to start with Tyler Shuck here, as he was the most recent guy that we watched, the third quarterback that we broke down. And in my opinion, did this film change my mind on Tyler Shuck? I think you guys know where I stood. I wasn't a fan of him. It didn't change my mind. I'm still not a fan of him. I saw some absolutely magical high-end plays on his film, some real pro throws, some plays that a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL are not capable of making. I also saw some plays that were literally Daniel Jones, Will Levis, Anthony Richardson 2.0. Some plays where these quarterbacks just can't stop beating themselves. Tyler Shuck has an unbelievable weakness to just crumble in the face of pressure and blow plays up, make the most unimaginably bad decision on a given down. Doesn't let plays die, turns the ball over, puts the ball in harm's way far too frequently. And I don't know if that can be overcome. Now, possibly it could be by a really good coach, but also thinking of the timeline of the New York Giants here, if we're looking at it from their perspective, I don't think they have time to waste. I don't think they have time to wait. I don't think Tyler Shuck fits well with the New York Giants. I don't want to see them draft him. If they do, I will try and lock in on those high-end plays and praise them and buy into them. But again, is that not what we did with Daniel Jones for 6 years? Look at just the highs and ignore the lows and hope that he could finally get rid of the lows and become a good quarterback? I think that's really what happens with a lot of these developmental quarterbacks. You'll look at the highs and the highlights and you get drawn into them. I'm not a highlights guy. I'm more of a lowlights guy. I learned more about a quarterback through their lowlights, and I learned a lot, too much, about Tyler Shuck through his lowlights. I think he's just got some really insurmountable weaknesses in terms of playing under pressure. However, there are some highs. So top strengths, his build, his mobility, and his arm strength is actually really, really impressive. But the big weakness is his panicky play under pressure. I don't know if he can overcome that. That's my bottom line here with Tyler Shuck. Really high ceiling, unbelievably low floor. Now, moving on to Kyle McCord. Again, kind of already did the bottom line with him, but I'll repeat it here for all of you who maybe just skip to the end for the bottom line. He is a good quarterback with a pretty solid floor. He's got really good touch. His best trait is his touch on his passes. His balls are super catchable. He throws with a lot of great touchdown field and some good accuracy on those deep balls. I think his field vision needs to be improved. He misses open reads sometimes, and he's late on a few of them. I think that's probably his biggest weakness is vision, not seeing certain guys break open, but he also doesn't have the strongest arm. Yes, he's got good touch on it, but not a ton of velocity. So he's accurate, but he doesn't necessarily rifle it in there. And sometimes he tries to rifle it in there and he rifles it into coverage. So he doesn't have the best vision, sometimes thinks guys are open when they're not, sometimes doesn't see guys open. I think the vision is his biggest weakness, but that is coachable. That is something that I definitely think could be coached out of Kyle McCord. He could be taught to read the field better and see the openings on the field a little bit more clearly. So some definite strengths and weaknesses with McCord. Overall, I think he's got a solid floor and should at least be a pretty good backup quarterback in the NFL for a while. And I think the same can be said of Will Howard. Will Howard, I think, is probably my favorite of these three prospects. With Will Howard, I think you get a really great blend here of an NFL body for a quarterback, a good enough arm, and good enough mobility. He's good enough in like every respect. And honestly, he throws with the most anticipation out of all three of these guys, in my opinion. His anticipatory throws are extremely criminally underrated. Not enough people talk about how often Will Howard throws guys open, how often Will Howard sees a defender with his back to the football and puts it over his shoulder to make a catchable pass for only his wide receiver. People do not talk about this enough. Will Howard has some damn impressive plays. Go watch the Oregon game if you want to be convinced on Will Howard and if you want to see his highs, because he does have them. He throws with a lot of anticipation. That's his biggest calling card and his biggest strength, in my opinion. Yes, there are weaknesses. I think he gets a little bit panicky under pressure. I think right now he's only a two-read quarterback and needs to learn how to read the second half of the field. And I think he is a little bit late to get to some passes sometimes because he's got kind of slow processing at times. However, he did run a pretty solid offense. He won a national championship, which I think holds a lot of weight for a quarterback, and he throws with a lot of anticipation. And those anticipatory throws are always going to be translatable to the next level. I think his floor is very high because he has that innate anticipation, and he doesn't need to be taught that part. Now just teach him how to play quarterback and how to read the field properly. So Will Howard, I do really like. And guys, just to round this thing out as we get into the end of draft season and prepare for tomorrow's NFL draft, I'm going to go ahead and give you my official rankings of all of the quarterbacks in this draft class and what day I think I would grade these quarterbacks on. Now, number one quarterback in the draft class for me and always has been Cam Ward out of Miami. And of course, everybody feels that way. That's the consensus. The number two quarterback in this draft class for me still is Shedeur Sanders. And I still think there's a gap between Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. But I also think there's a gap between Shedeur Sanders and the next best guy. I think it's really a 1 situation, a 2 situation, and then a 3A, 3B, 3C kind of situation. Not a 2A, 2B, 2C. For me, firmly, Shedeur Sanders is the number 2 quarterback in this draft class. Now, if you guys want breakdowns on Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders, just go back on the channel. I didn't include them in this because, hey, those are first-round guys. This was supposed to focus on the mid-round guys. But now this next crop of quarterbacks in Jackson Dart and Jalen Milroe, that's number 3 and number 4 for me. You can find those film breakdowns as well on the channel. Didn't want to look at them because I don't view them as mid-round guys. I think they're going more round 1, round 2. So didn't want to include them in this breakdown. But that's my ranking right now. Ward, Sanders, Jackson Dart, then Jalen Milroe. Here's the funny thing about Jalen Milroe. If I were grading him as a quarterback prospect, he might be the lowest graded quarterback prospect out of all of these guys. But he has the most upside, so I'm going to place him ahead of some of these other quarterback prospects. Like, I'll bank on his upside over the kind of just average profile of a Kyle McCord, if I need to make that example. I'll bank on the upside of Jalen Milroe over the variance of Tyler Shuck, essentially is what I mean. So Jalen Milroe is QB4 for me in this draft class. QB5 will be Will Howard. QB6 is Kyle McCord. QB7, out of the guys that I've evaluated, is Tyler Shuck. I've watched some Quinn Ewers, but not enough to actually rank him here, so I'm just going to leave him out of this conversation. Between now and Friday, I will be watching Quinn Ewers. So if we are going into day 2 and we haven't drafted a quarterback, you guys will hear my take on him going into day 2. I promise you that. I will be watching him. Just don't feel comfortable enough to give a proper evaluation, so didn't want to include him in these rankings. But of the 7 guys that I've really dived into and done like a really deep all 22 examination of, those are my 7 ranked 1 through 7. So let me know what you guys think. How do you rank these quarterbacks? What are your thoughts on the mid-round guys that we did break down in this episode? Let me know all your thoughts down below. Again, stay tuned Thursday night for the NFL Draft live stream. I'll be live for the entirety of the first round, and I can't wait for it. I am super excited. Of course, guys, make sure you leave your feedback, what videos you want to see next, your thoughts on everything New York Giants and NFL Draft related down in the comment section. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and follow us on all of our social media channels at Fireside Giants. Without further ado, I'm Anthony Rivardo, and I will catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.